In this range of motion testing, we're going to be covering shoulder internal rotation. When we look at some of the restrictions causing an impeded internal rotation, we're going to be looking at the posterior capsule, the posterior area of the body, primarily the posterior delt, the infraspinatus, and the teres minor. From a capsule perspective, inferior and posterior capsule of the shoulder. Ideally, what we're looking for is approximately 60 to 70 degrees of internal rotation. So to set up, we have our tape going right through the middle of the elbow, coming straight up in line with the middle of the wrist. Now, two things you want to make sure. We want to make sure that the arm does not adduct or come down. We also want to make sure that the shoulder is depressed when we start this. Now, unlike the external rotation, you're going to notice a lot of people popping that shoulder forward when they do this test. I'm going to be placing my hand right on that capsule, right on the front of the shoulder, and as we go into internal rotation, oh boy, we have a little bit of an issue here. So what we want to look for, and I'm going to take my hand away so you can see this better, is that as we go into internal rotation, automatically that capsule is locked, and we start to see the entire shoulder pop forward. We should be able to get to 60 to 70 degrees of internal rotation without that happening. So right now we are getting to about there. Can you feel that start to pop forward? And it feels very uncomfortable. So here is going to be our 0 mark, and that's pretty much our test right there. So going into our goniometer, we have our 0 degree marker here, and we are, you ready for this one? 15 degrees. We have 15 degrees of internal rotation, yet we have in a previous video, when we went through our external rotation with Sarah, she's got great range of motion this way, very limited range of motion this way, meaning that she's got a massive imbalance between her posterior muscles and the anterior muscles, which will mean that that humeral head is not going to sit in that joint properly. Now I want to show you a few things. Let's just sit up for 1 second. So when we look at some of the tightness and some of the muscles responsible for this, posterior delt, infraspinatus, teres minor. For your viewing pleasure right now, I'm going to push on some of those muscles. Oh, you okay there? How's that feel? How's that feel? We have just literally knots of muscles. Muscles through here that are so constricted, so tight, that they don't want to move. Now just stand up for me for 1 second, Sarah. And we'll face that way. I want to show you what happens. So when we're in this position here, elbow bent, in order for her to go into internal rotation, all of this has to let go. So imagine her wearing a shirt or a t-shirt and me grabbing that shirt and holding it tight, it's going to limit that range of motion. Now watch what happens to her shoulder capsule. So do me a favor and go to internal rotation. Look at how the entire girdle and the capsule starts to shift forward. Now, bring that down and back. Try not to move this and go into internal rotation, and we're stuck. And you'll see a lot of people, if you don't pay attention to this, you will get a very false reading. Make sure that this does not rotate forward like that. This would be a false test. So make sure that this stays down, back, and there's no forward motion from that anterior portion of the shoulder. Great, thank you.